Um, Archbishop John, let's go back to the beginning. When did you hear that you would have a role in the coronation ceremony at Westminster Abbey?
I think it was about 4 or 5 weeks beforehand. We knew that Irish church leaders knew that we were being invited to be there, but I got some kind of intimation that there might be what they call an enhanced role for myself and for the other two primates from these islands, as it were. So it would have been about 4 or 5 weeks before.
Did it come as a great surprise, or was it expected?
No, it wasn't expected. I mean, it's a Church of England service, and by and large, it's actually the Archbishop of Canterbury who does all of the moving parts, as it were, and the speaking parts. Maybe the odd thing by the Archbishop of York. So no, it wasn't really expected at all. And I think it probably came as an initiative from Buckingham Palace. There was a recognition that things were different from 1953, and that the regions, particularly due to devolution and whatnot, perhaps should have a different sort of involvement in the service.
From a personal standpoint, what did it actually mean to you to be part of history in the making?
Well, you don't really think of it, I suppose, in that way. You think of it as this task to do, aware of the fact that it's going to be watched by millions of people. So you want to do it well. But in terms of it was for me significant as a representative of the Church of Ireland, and to some degree as a representative of many, many people in Northern Ireland, not just Church of Ireland, people who would have welcomed the involvement in that religious ceremony of somebody from Northern Ireland.
Just on that point, from a Church of Ireland perspective, what do you think it meant to Church of Ireland members and to the church generally?
Well, I think people obviously different people from different parts of the country would take a different view, and we're always very careful to make sure that people understand that we are not, as it were, answerable to the Church of England. We're an entirely independent church, but at the same time, the links are very, very close. Obviously, constitutional links in terms of Northern Ireland, but also, I think, links of affection and friendship from the Republic of Ireland from many people. And certainly, I received at least as many sort of texts and emails of congratulations and good wishes from people in the Republic as I did from people in Northern Ireland.
From a practical standpoint, what was involved in the build up to the ceremony itself?
Well, obviously, it's not technically a very difficult thing to do to be given something and to give it to somebody else. But because of, I suppose, the significance of the occasion, both in religious terms and in constitutional terms, the rehearsals are very thorough. So we were there pretty well all day, 2 days before, no matter how small your part was, um, to walk through the whole thing. And as you know, they plan these things down to the last minute. And I think it was planned for 2 hours, and I think it was over by a minute on the day. So it was a remarkable logistical feat in that sense. So that involves a lot of hanging around, as you might imagine. But the good thing about the hanging around is there are lots of interesting people to talk to when you're hanging around.
Um, you presented the orb during the actual coronation. What did the orb symbolize? What did it represent?
The orb symbolises the Christian world, or indeed the whole world under the cross, under the sign of sacrifice, and that's the significant bit. In the 1953 service, the words that went with it were slightly different. You remember that the whole world is under the power and empire of Christ, and it was changed to remember that the kingdoms of the world are now the kingdom of Christ, presumably because the words power and empire are now much more ambivalent than they would have been in 1953, and they can suggest other things to people's minds. So they were, I suppose, in a sense, softened. But nevertheless, the message is the same, a reminder that the whole world is under a different sort of sovereignty, but also an assurance that that sovereignty is, that lordship is something that the king can depend on in a way, he can lean on as well.
Your role took about a minute or under a minute to complete. Any nerves?
Well, not no. In a sense, it's so well rehearsed, and the people in the abbey are remarkably, particularly the vergers, are remarkably efficient and have been doing this for years. One of them, who's from Belfast, I called Nigel, sort of always takes a particular interest in people who are coming from Northern Ireland, and he looked after me very, very well. And made sure I felt at home and made sure I was relaxed for the actual bit that I had to do.
There was a decent representation, of course, from Northern Ireland. Did you get a chance to mix and mingle?
Well, not much really. I saw obviously Lord Eames was there representing the Order of Merit, and of course Mary Peters was there representing the Knights of the Garter. That's remarkable. But I didn't. I sort of saw them, but I wasn't able to talk to them. The Irish Church leaders were all together, roving together and rehearsing together and whatnot. And just trying to think, was there anybody else from Northern Ireland apart from Nigel the Verger who I met? Possibly not. Possibly not.
You've had time to reflect on what was a very grand occasion. How would you sum it all up?
Um, the it's a sort of a paradox, the monarchy and to be involved in that, I suppose, in that making of a king, in a very, very marginal, very small way, obviously. That on the one hand, they're a tangible sign of that kind of matrix of law and custom that makes up the high level of the British Constitution, the unwritten Constitution. So they're a very visible sign of unity for many, many people who don't have the time or the inclination to think about constitutional technicalities, but they see the crown and the king as a binding and unifying individual and force. But as well as being tangible, there's something slightly mysterious behind the whole thing. There's something which, and perhaps that's why symbols are used so much, that they say more than words can say. So the monarchy says more than words can say. And I think a lot of people who don't come from the United Kingdom or the Commonwealth very often underestimate significant. It isn't only the show and the pomp. There's something very substantial, something almost, eternal is the wrong word, but very long lasting about the figure of the monarchy in the course of British history. So to be part of that is a kind of like a plug in